Okay, let's catch up with Pauline Hanson, the One Nation founder and leader, joining us live from Canberra. Great to talk to you, Pauline. I have to get your thoughts on these 83 people out of indefinite immigration detention, a whole bunch of criminals, murderers and rapists among them. How could this have been handled better?
Chris, I am so angry with the decision from the High Court. They're not in keeping with how the Australian people think and about national security as well, and how they feel about being protected from these criminals. The thing is, what the High Court has sent a clear message around the world that those criminals can actually come to Australia and you will be a protected species. Forget about the boat people. The Federal Police told me in 1996 and 1998, when I was in Parliament, that we had a lot more people coming in via plane, arriving in Australia as illegals and claiming refugee status. So you don't need the boat people. We can have them arriving by plane now. The whole thing, Chris, just infuriates me to no end. And they say that you can't keep them indefinitely in prison. They talk about the Constitution, the rights of these people. There is a separation of powers between the government and the judiciary. The judiciary has been pushing their argument for a couple of years now, saying, well, we will administer punishment, not the Parliament. But the judiciary must interpret the laws that are set down by the elected parliamentarians of this nation on behalf of the people. In the legislation, it states that they will be kept in detention. The only technicality here that I can see is, and you cannot keep them indefinitely. Then change it to make it 25 or 30 years. That's what the government needs to do. Because this is the point.
This is the point, of course. The High Court's going to interpret the legislation it has before it and the Constitution, but it's up to the Parliament to make the laws. And surely this government can look at the findings and draft some legislation to fix the problem. Peter Dutton's claim, though, is that they should have preempted all this and had legislation ready to go immediately. Do you think that is fair, or would have been the same scenario under a coalition government?
Chris, when it comes to the court decision, all right, we don't know how they're going to interpret the law, all right? It can be totally different between one court to another. But the High Court is saying, using their powers under Chapter 3 of the Constitution, states that they are the ones who hand down punishment. Indefinite detention is not the punishment. You know, that comes under a different category as far as I'm concerned. Look, I'm not a legal person, but I'm not stupid when it comes to the Constitution. I have actually focused on the Constitution since I was first elected to Parliament. And I think the whole fact is the High Court, in my interpretation, have overstepped the mark, have not respected the legislation put down by the government of the day to say that these people should be kept indefinitely. These are criminals. These people have committed murders in their own countries. They're out here illegal in this country, and they have no respect. The High Court has no respect for the safety of the Australian people to allow these people to be released on the streets of this country. And I think it's wrong. We don't know how we're going to get rid of them.
Sure, I agree. I share your frustration with the High Court. There's other decisions they've made in the past where I disagree with them, but it doesn't matter. The court has found what it's found, and governments have to deal with it and legislate there so they get their precedents over it. Let's have a look at what.
I'll say to the government.
Well, just have a look first. Hold that thought, and I just want to show viewers first what Peter Dutton had to say about this in Parliament today.
Prime Minister, don't leave Canberra and don't leave this parliament until legislation has been passed which will give effect to providing safety to the Australian people, because what is happening is these people with significant criminal records, having committed significant rapes and assaults and murders against Australian citizens, are being released into the community, and you stand condemned.
There you go, Pauline. He says he shouldn't leave. Albanese shouldn't have left the country without getting some legislation underway. You want to see legislation. How quickly could it happen?
It won't happen until the court brings down its reasons for the determination that it made, and that's the whole problem. Okay, if the determination says you can't keep them indefinitely, then move legislation and say that they can be held in detention for 25 or 30 years. I don't care. Put a time limit on it. That satisfies the court. And the whole fact is that we actually have to have national security. Those people should not have been released, and these people have never come forward with their names. We can't send them back to their own countries for fear of their lives being taken. Well, if they're murderers and rapists in their own bloody countries, as far as I'm concerned, send them back. I don't care if they are executed.
Well, this is the point. This is one of them could be sent back, extradited back to Malaysia immediately, except we decide we don't like the death penalty, so we keep him here instead. That seems to be inflicting somewhat horrible.
Us.
Exactly, I agree. I would.
It's not up to us.
I would say send him back to
their own
Malaysia.
country.
Let him face the Malaysian system. Malaysia has had no trouble executing Australians who have broken the law there. Yet we won't send a Malaysian back to Malaysia because they might face the death penalty. It is nuts. Just very briefly, because we're nearly out of time, I noticed Chris Richardson, the very leading economist, and he's a big Australia guy, has always supported the high levels of immigration. He says it's gotten a bit messy. The housing crisis is too severe. We might have to pull back on immigration while we ease the housing crisis. Hallelujah. Even he's coming on board.
Yeah, he's one that's woken up Australia, okay? Because, you know, they're starting to see the impact it's having on ordinary Australians, the cost of living, everything that's impacting. So anyway, finally, some people are starting to wake up. You know, things that I've been talking about for years and years, Chris, that they're starting to wake up because it's impacting. I hope more people wake up. But good on him, he's admitted it.
He has indeed. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. Appreciate it.